I am Koios, the Rōnin BeatMaker, and welcome to Lounge Rōnin. All things, everything. And before we get into it, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And on this episode, we're going to discuss George Lucas versus Disney. Little fun fact about me: I am a lover of Star Wars. Although I would be lying if I did not say that apathy has set in for me. And I've kind of been, a little on the fence and apprehensive about really sharing my thoughts about Star Wars and the state of it, right? Or I should say Disney Star Wars and the state of it right now, because, well, I'll be honest with you guys, this is round one for me, and we'll definitely be doing another couple rounds in the future. But I wanted to cover his recent comments, and I just wanted to give just a little bit of my thoughts on it. I know a lot of other people have been talking about it. And, I've kind of been reflecting on his words and just kind of thinking about my own thoughts in relation to Disney Star Wars. And just like, as I was saying, I got apathy in me right now. And, I'm not really sure, like recently a friend, like, they wanted to watch the Star Wars films with me, the OT trilogy, and more than likely the prequels. Probably start with the prequels and then go to the OT trilogy, just for fun. And they were recently asking me about it, and I was like, to be honest with you, like right now I don't even have it in me to watch them. And I think I just like Disney has just burned us so bad. A lot of us, fans, and I'm a prequel kid. I grew up on the prequels. So say what you will, I love the prequels. Revenge of the Sith is like my all-time favorite film of the Star Wars films, Disney. So George Lucas to be specific, not Disney. So with George Lucas's recent comments that he came out, I kind of found myself in a situation where, like, listening to other people talk about them, and some of them were coming at it from a more of like the fact that he signed over Lucasfilm to Disney. He can't really say how he feels necessarily, since the money's in the bank, and he signed enough papers to ensure that if he starts talking sideways, the mouse is going to come correct. So to me, I just felt that the way Bob Iger, the way Kathleen Kennedy have decided to run Star Wars, and essentially not take on the the blueprints that George left over after he signed over Lucasfilm. And to me, I'm kind of thinking to myself about before we get into the article, just like Star Wars, I think for anybody out there who loves it, likes it, whatever it may be, has been inspired by it. It's it's kind of like you're taking a part of your childhood, you're taking a part of your lived experience. I remember going to the prequels to see the Phantom Menace, to see Attack of the Clones. Like, I remember being part of a Star Wars club and going to see Attack of the Clones. uh so for me, this has always been a special place in my heart. And I think, like anybody out there who loves Star Wars, what or even Star Trek, it has shaped your perception of how you are as a person, whether it's insignificant or by a lot. And I think what I really just feel for a lot of these kind of situations, for many of us, is that we don't get the opportunity to really live um, the joy of growing up to what we held so dear, because at the moment right now, for many of us, it's being taken for granted. It's hurting our ability to enjoy film, because they've done such a fantastic job of essentially making us the enemy. And you'll have people out there, they'll push back, and they'll say, well, Disney Star Wars has been very, very successful. And we all know that's not really the case. And I think, with things that George Lucas is saying now, I think part of the reason why George is kind of saying the things that he's saying is because, you know, what can they do to him at this point? What can they do to hurt George Lucas? I mean, you've kind of destroyed his creation in many ways, and bastardize it. So in my mind, I don't think there's really anything that they can do right now, and I think he's feeling at this point in the game, and especially in his life, like you've you've done such an irreparable damage to Star Wars, that there is no way for you to redeem it, to fix it. You've alienated the original fans. You've essentially poured apathy down their throat and forced them to swallow this new age Star Wars. And then you spent so much time trying to gravitas to this new generation, who were still clinging on to the prequels, who were still clinging on to the OT trilogy. Uh, you had an opportunity and a chance to bring the OT characters together and start off a new world. You didn't have to take everything that George Lucas said in his rough drafts for you guys, but all you needed to do was at least have Han, Luke, and Leia, Chewbacca, and Lando, C-3PO, and R2 all together. You needed to just that one moment to start this world in this new age of Disney Star Wars. But their arrogance, their nepotism, and I really just think also they never really liked Star Wars. I don't think Bob ever really liked Star Wars. I don't think Kathleen Kennedy ever really liked Star Wars. I think in their minds it just looked like an IP that we can just farm and we can just exploit. There was no real necessary care and interest in Star Wars. And I think that's really par for the course when you really think about it. I was in the camp that when Disney bought it, I got really excited. I was thinking to myself, like, oh boy, we're gonna, you know, Disney might actually do something special here for us, and bring back, this idea of the older generation of Star Wars lovers and a new generation. And I was there for it. I was all in on it. I really wanted it to be that case. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And I even gave Force Awakens a benefit of doubt. I even liked The Last Jedi. I don't know now how I feel because I went to see The Rise of Skywalker on opening night. I haven't seen it since then. So I don't know if, because I don't know if that means that that night it died for me and I just didn't accept it. Um, I'm not really sure. I think for me it was just kind of like, I there was a channel that I was following for a while called Urban Acolyte. His name is Prince. A wonderful guy, actually. Martial artist, really interesting guy, and I highly recommend anyone go out there and check out his channel. Doesn't run it anymore. I hope it's still up. But I would go back and just look at some of his videos about The Last Jedi and Force Awakens, and he would always approach things from the standpoint of the Force and the philosophies behind it, and some of the Eastern storytelling notes, story beats, and implications. And I really enjoyed a lot of his content of that time because I really did like The Force Awakens. I really did love The Last Jedi, and I think a lot of it was because the way he was approaching it was very organically, and it resonated with me. And I also really wanted Finn to be an amazing character. I wanted Poe to be an amazing character. I wanted Rey to be an amazing character. And I think at that time, like, I didn't really see what was going on because at the exact same time, I was just enjoying that we were getting new Star Wars. I wasn't looking too deep into it. I mean, I was getting the new comics too. I had, was getting a lot of the new comics. Rogue One was personally one of my favorites. Chirrut Emwe, Baze Malbus. I love those two characters from Rogue One. I love the concept of Jedha and the Guardian of the Wills. Like, they had some really cool concepts in Disney Star Wars that I really resonated with, and I was excited for it. I really was excited for what the possibilities of what they were going to do, because at that exact same time I was also getting into the expanded universe, and I was really realizing how wonderful the expanded universe and fun it is as well. And I got excited thinking to myself, like, oh, they're gonna cherry pick some of the really cool concepts and ideas and story beats in the expanded universe, and they're gonna apply it into Disney Star Wars, and we're gonna get some really special and beautiful things. And at some points I really thought we were getting that. um but I think it wasn't until the controversies leading up to the rise of Skywalker that even for myself I began to feel a bit apprehensive and starting to kind of question what was really going on. And yeah, I think I think it's funny that like after the Rise of Skywalker, I only saw it in the movie theater, never saw it again. Stopped buying the comics, stopped keeping up with the Disney canon. Um yeah, I think I kind of died after that. Excuse me. I think I just kind of stopped. I think I died for me then, and with everything that with George Lucas coming out and saying things, and just the state of Lucasfilm right now, and everything that happened with the Mandalorian season 3. I didn't even watch that. Gina Carano, uh you know Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi. There were so many things that they have just abused and exploited for no other gain than self-interest and self-insert, and all we get in the end is nothing that the old breed of fans can enjoy, and not even the new kids. Like they're not even interested in the new into Disney Star Wars. They all wanted Luke Skywalker. They all wanted Han Solo. They wanted Lando. They wanted those characters. Yeah, they were interested in new characters, but they wanted those new characters to uh, be a foundation that allowed the old T characters to really shine and retire in a manner that allows their legacy to be um, immortalized in a manner that all of us can be proud and excited for. But we didn't really get that. And I think with everything, with George kind of coming out right now, to me personally, like I said, um, whether or not him siding behind Iger during the proxy battle, whether that was because of signatures, whatever it may be, it seems like George now feels like, well, Disney is in such a state of decay that he feels somewhat comfortable to say a little bit of what's on his mind. And I guess I'm feeling that way too. And if you've noticed through this so far, I haven't been, necessarily cursing and really getting angry, because I'm still kind of working through my feelings on this. And to be honest with you, I'm just not even sure yet. Like, I want to open the article up and I want to read it to you guys, but like I'm not ready yet, because I just feel like I just kind of want to talk more about my thoughts. I think I'll save it for round two, um, because I guess I'm kind of feeling like George Lucas right now. Like, what can you do to me now? You've destroyed what I love, and sure, I signed it away to the devil with big ears, but you could have done something even more than what I was capable of, or willing to do, or even wanted to do. And I can't help and blame some of the fans back in the day for for the way the prequels were handled, and blaming him for ruining Star Wars. And it's like you reap what you sow. You 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 chastise this man for doing things his way, and even though it may have not been the best way, but he brought you something authentic, genuine, and new, and you chastised him for it. You ridiculed him for it, to the point where he sold it away to the devil. It's not like he didn't have the money to make a new Star Wars film and get the funding to back it. You're kidding me? Any studio would have jumped in a heartbeat to do it. And I was too young to be part of the ilk that were on the forums back in the early 2000s, chastising or publicly, harassing and ridiculing George Lucas. I wasn't around for any of that. I mean, I was, but I was too young. I was too busy playing with the action figures and the spaceships to care about any of that. But like I said, you reap what you sow, and the karma of all those people chastising him, and this is kind of what you get. And it's not necessarily fair to people like me who were, in middle school or high school or even in elementary school when the prequels came out, and we loved it. Uh, and so now, we're now here with Disney Star Wars, and people call it Disney Star Wars. They don't call it Star Wars. They call it Disney Star Wars because there really is a significant difference in the quality and in the representation. And, I don't think this is going to be the end of George speaking his mind and him at this Cannes Film Festival speaking his thoughts. I think we're going to get more. I think George is going to speak a lot of his thoughts in relation to how he's been feeling. And I think he's going to keep on being um, elusive with his words, but we're going to know exactly what he's saying and feeling. And like I said, what can they do now? What can they do to hurt him, to silence him? They're going to silence George Lucas? I mean, how much more damage does Disney and Lucasfilm need right now? And I think that's just something that, for me personally, I'm just looking at. I've had my feelings on this for such a long time, and I haven't even really said how I feel, which is even more funny about it. I've said all my thoughts and everything, and I guess I have said a little bit about my feelings about it, but well, yeah, I did. I said I have apathy, so I did. I stand corrected. Um, yeah, I think that's kind of part of the reason why, like, it's almost like difficult for me to want to keep talking about it because I have apathy for it. Yet I love it dearly. It's such a disappointing place to be in life in regards to something you hold so dear, and you've kind of been subjected to so much of a torment of abuse and such bad content that you're not really, you're besides yourself. And even the content that you did enjoy, as you reflect on it now, you come to realize it wasn't as good as you thought it was. And maybe you were a little bit off that high and a little bit in that delusion. And I think that was a little bit of what I've been kind of realizing while doing this stream. Man, I guess I was a little bit delusional with Disney Star Wars. And even now, so it frustrates me because there were actual themes and ideas within Disney Star Wars that I actually thought were really cool, and I would have loved if they had the right people behind it to actually follow through and actualize them. Like in Star Wars Rebels, the animated show, the character the Bendu, I love that character. We're never ever gonna get any more of that character. No more references, nothing. Such a unique character, a force sensitive, uh, ancient creature, almost as if it's been around since the beginning of time. Uh, it was such a fantastic idea that will never get explored. And I guess like that's something that just kind of it tears me up inside a little bit. There were so many really fantastical ideas I love that in Disney Star Wars that will never get properly explored because we don't have the right people behind it. We don't have the right passionate people. We don't have the people with the right morals and direction and ideals and ethics to make Star Wars what it was under the reigns and protection of George Lucas and his crew. And I would be lying if I didn't shout out to his editor and shout out to his ex-wife who helped in really cementing the visualization and the legacy of Star Wars and making it digestible for us. I would be doing a disservice and a disrespect to them. And and it's funny how when you listen to some of the pop culture commentators, and nowadays I disagree with a lot of stuff they say in certain aspects, but then when it comes to Lucasfilm, I can't help but agree with everything they say. Um, and for me, the hardest part is knowing that when I reflect on Disney Star Wars and what I've watched and seen, I have to almost kind of accept the fact that, like, it wasn't as good as I thought it was. Or maybe it was even better than I thought it was, but it's tarnished by the fact that we'll never see a proper conclusion. Or because they went so far off the rails that there's no way to actually enjoy it, or even to come to a beautiful and satisfying conclusion. Say what you will about the prequels, it came to me a beautiful and satisfying conclusion. Same with the OT trilogy. It came to a beautiful and satisfying conclusion. But unfortunately, we can't say that about the sequel trilogy. And it's kind of funny. I look at my comic collection, my comic book collection, and I look at all of the Disney Star Wars comic books I have, and I'm like thinking to myself, like, man, I got at least close to $1,000, and like, am I ever gonna reopen these? Like, would I even bother passing them down to children? If I have them, would I bother passing down? I don't even know anymore. Part of me is like, man, I'd rather go read the Knights of the Old Republic series with Zane Carrick. Like, I'd rather go read the Dawn of the Jedi series. I'd rather, go. It's just funny. It's like, I haven't even thought about that. Like, what am I gonna do with Disney Star Wars comics that I have? What the hell am I gonna do with them? I haven't read them in years. Haven't opened them. And there's a YouTube channel that I'm subscribed to, and he uploads all of the Star Wars Disney Star Wars comics, all the canon Disney canon. He has it all up, and you can, if you want to sit there and be up to date on the Disney canon of Star Wars, you can in the comics. He doesn't have the books up there, but if you look, you could probably find the audio versions of the books somewhere. But the point being is, like, there's no drive. Uh, the artwork, I can tell you, isn't that good. The quality of the artwork isn't that good from what I've seen, and the writing isn't that good either. I don't know, man. I don't know. Yeah, it's fun. I've never really put all these thoughts out into words. I never really thought about how I feel about this, about Star Wars or Disney Star Wars. And I guess I haven't really thought about it until George Lucas made a comment. Hold on 1 second, guys. Ooh, oh my god. I am so sorry. I just knocked my dog. Okay. Um Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, I'm besides myself. Needless to say. I'm completely besides myself. And I think tomorrow we'll open up the article and we'll really just get into it. I think today I just needed to just kind of talk and just get my thoughts out. Um, and then tomorrow I think we'll really, either tomorrow or Thursday we'll really delve into it. But I just needed to get my thoughts out and just see how I feel. If you've made it this far, please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Lounge Rōnin. All things, everything. Sorry about that. Pablo right now is coughing. He is my 90-year-old dog. If you have made it this far, please make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. And until next time, stay positive, stay focused, stay true, and much love.